Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video or show, whatever this is going to be, because we honestly don't really know yet. But it's just me and my good friend Varkin. Hello.
What's up, man?
What's up? What's up? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Excited to, see if people will take to these videos to see if we want to continue to do them, kind of branching away from being exclusively just Lord of the Rings and giving people some of our thoughts on the latest news drops in entertainment for things that we're excited about.
And boy, there has been a lot, hasn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been like a crap ton. So we've got so much that we're going to be talking about today. In fact, like we've got Game of Thrones spin-off, Harry Potter reboots, all that new Star Wars stuff. So yeah, just a place, and it's also news is it just a good place to put all the news together over the last week. So yeah, all the news, we'll give our take on it. And I think, yeah, nothing more than that. So you ready, man?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's we can get right into it.
Yeah, the first one I think is Game of Thrones related. And Vark, do you want to take that one away?
Yep. So I have it pulled up here on my phone. There was an exclusive at Variety, and it says Game of Thrones prequel about Aegon's conquest is eyed at HBO. And in it, they said the show will tell the story of how Aegon and his sister wives, Visenya and Rhaenys, used their army and their three dragons to conquer six of the seven kingdoms on Westeros, with the exception of Dorne. In doing so, Aegon became the first king of Westeros, first to sit on the Iron Throne, and the founder of the Targaryen dynasty. These events took place approximately 300 years prior to the events of Game of Thrones, and obviously HBO has declined to comment because it's something you want to announce yourself when you get to it.
Mm-hmm.
But like to me, and I know that this is going to be like blasphemy for some folks, but to me, this is a story that's a little bit cooler than what we're getting within House of the Dragon, and I like House of the Dragon, but we're gonna get dragons in this anyway. But
Yep.
there's gonna be
Valerian,
much
right?
yeah, we're gonna get much more exploration in this, and obviously, it'll be cool to see how they take over each of these other kingdoms. Building the Iron Throne and all that. It's the story that they're always talking about, but now we'll kind of get to see it play out in full. But then also, it's not just pie in the sky and eating cake and having a fun time. Obviously, the Dornish don't get taken over, so we'll get to kind of see how that plays out
Yeah,
on
the
screen
Dornish
as well.
Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I know it's super early. They don't have any writers announced or directors or anything like that, but we always have fan castings going on, and I think that
There is
this is
one.
one. I think the internet would really, really like Henry Cavill to be a part of the Game of Thrones franchise in some fashion. And many people, even before this, have linked him to playing some sort of Aegon. So I think Henry Cavill would make a terrific Aegon the First and sit on that Iron Throne.
It'll be interesting to see if because he's doing Warhammer 40K at Amazon as well. So it'll be interesting to
Mm-hmm.
see how that actually crosses over. But yeah, the interesting thing around this Game of Thrones stuff is I have all the shows that have been announced since we've had that Jon Snow show, I think. That's one. That's a sequel to Game of Thrones itself. Then we had
Yep.
that crappy um with of course the White Walkers and how that ended up was it called Blood Moon or something that got cancelled. I think
The
had
one that got canceled.
what?
Yeah.
Yep, I think this seemed like one of the more interesting ones because of course Game of Thrones is past now. We've got House of the Dragon. This is set before that, of course, and yeah, it would link in a way. So I'm actually quite. It's interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to see if it actually gets officially green light because that's it's still not even confirmed yet. Just do a
Yep.
trade, like how the trades work it's basically sent by the studios themselves. But we don't want to get into the politics of our trades and how the Hollywood Reporter variety work. But it is basically a near confirmation, but we haven't got confirmed. But yeah, something I'll be looking quite forward to.
I'm cautiously optimistic on it because, like you said, they've had projects that they were already filming the pilot or had the pilot filmed, and then they canceled it because it
Yeah.
wasn't up to the quality that they were hoping for. But at the same time, some of like the people's fears of Rings of Power and Lord of the Rings, becoming, but there's a new season and a new movie coming out and video games coming out, you worry about with everything coming out, will it harm the overall quality of the brand?
Yeah.
And I'm not somebody who knocks Marvel, but like that take people have where everything is connected. We've got every single story ever told and stories that don't need to be told. I
Hmm.
worry that we're getting to a point with the Game of Thrones brand where it's sort of becoming like Marvel, where we're just anything that's written in the book, we're trying to make a story out of it. And this is a story I do like,
Yeah.
but it's just the concern and a
Yeah.
worry that I
No.
have. Like not this one specifically, but like what's next?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is fair. I think that is a fair point. But in the end, it seems like, of course, with the story you have Aegon, he has a sister wife, so we're gonna get more incest as always. Here we've got, of course, they do end up taking over the Six Kingdoms and seeing how that plays out. And of course, we're probably gonna get a lot of battles. And I think we can in the future we can actually go through the whole actual story that we're actually going to see throughout. And it also be interesting to see how many seasons we actually get. But I think if you have any final comments on this new potential Game of Thrones show that we're going to be seeing in the coming years.
Yeah, it would kind of just piggyback off of what you just said, where I think it does like the pace that we go through House of the Dragon doesn't feel too differently yet from the pace we had of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But I imagine they're going to have to tell a much slower story, or you're going to be having battles like every episode to be able to tell the Aegon, the first story, conquering all these kingdoms, or if it's going to be like, trying to conquer one per season or something like that, kind of spreading it out. It might be much slower paced in that regard, which I'm open to. I like getting things that are new on TV or not the same as everything else. It'll be cool to see how they can kind of make that different and stand out on its own as well.
And of
But
course,
I'm still not as hyped for that as I am for the Jon Snow show because
oh,
Tormund Giant's Bane is my
Torment.
favorite character from Game of Thrones.
If there had to be, let's say, let's hope not, there is a Lord of the Rings remake. Of course, I
Mm.
should be talking about the Harry Potter stuff next, but if we had to have a Gimli, and if we are going for the typical Jackson Scottish looking guy, I think he would be my number one pick for Gimli. Might be a bit controversial.
No, I don't think it's controversial at all. And I've said regularly on like the Fellowship of Fans Discord, like the guy who plays, I apologize for not knowing his
Christopher
name, but
Hajivivu. Sorry,
that
Hujivu.
guy,
Yeah.
he fits in with like the Rings of Power dwarves as well. Like if we
Yeah.
can get him to play somebody in season 2, 3, 4, 5, I think it'd be a great get. He's got the look for it. He's got the acting chops. Dude killed it, and
The
I'm
beard.
surprised he hasn't been given more work. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So, yep, that is. Let us know what you think of this latest news around the Game of Thrones developments. But now moving on to our next story, which is another interesting one. It's coming from Bloomberg, and I believe their articles behind a paywall, but we've still got all the facts here. And it is the fact that we might be getting a Harry Potter reboot, but not as a movie, but this time as a series. And what we know about it is that it's going to be potentially 7 seasons, 1 season for each of the books. And then J.K. Rowling, though not going to be the showrunner, is going to be involved somewhat. So kind of like how George R. R. Martin is with House of the Dragon. I think that's a good way to do it. Not to do it, but to way to explain it. And of course, this source apparently has been in the talks. It's not confirmed yet, but it seems like it's coming from a strong area, which is Bloomberg. So, wow, Harry Potter remakes too soon? What do you think?
I think it'll be good, but I do think it is a bit too soon. I have my girlfriend has a son who just turned 9, and he's watched all of the Harry Potter films. From he's reading through the books currently, but he's played the games, he's watched the movies already. I don't think we're at a point yet where kids necessarily like need the reminder of who Harry Potter is. So I'm curious as to like how they're gonna make the show in terms of like is the are they going to try to make it like PG, for kids? Is it going to be maybe a little more mature for adults? But like my big takeaway for this is good luck to the people getting casted because
Oh,
whenever you're taking on the role of something that has already been done before and done very very well, unfortunately they are going to get compared to those people, and even if they knock it out of the park, I think there's going to be at first before anything gets actually seen there's going to be a lot of negative comments about people's acting abilities and looks and how will they pan out over 7 seasons and stuff like that. And how can this guy ever play Dumbledore when this guy was Dumbledore? And whoever gets the role of Harry, good luck to him. But at the same time, we have seen a lot of Bella Ramsey got a lot of flack for her role in The Last of Us before anybody had seen her perform. And then once the show came out, people kind of came around to it. And I'm hoping that that's the same for them. But man,
Yeah.
a Harry Potter series compared to the movies, to be able to get in a bunch of the stuff that has been cut, this could be when Bezos is like, give me the next Game of Thrones. The Harry Potter brand is, I like it less than Lord of the Rings, but I know it's a special brand and it means a lot to a lot of people.
Yep.
You're going to have a lot of eyeballs tuning into whatever they're doing, which again goes back to, I really hope that they knock it out of the park with the casting and they do a good job with the story.
Because for me, of course, Hermione going to Rupert Grint and Daniel Radcliffe are always, head canon wise, always going to be the go-to for when you think of Harry Potter and et al. But the interesting thing for me here, and I think if you want to look at the negatives, it's coming out soon. Of course, you got the whole thing around J.K. Rowling. How's that going to affect, with this series, whatever? Because we saw what happened with the Harry Potter game as well. But 7 seasons, 7 books. So let's say it's 8 episodes, because all shows, nowadays 8 episodes.
Right? Why? Yeah. Go back to 10.
10 or even 12, yeah, it used to be 10 episodes, then you have the 2-episode finale, so it'd be 12 episodes. That's when TV was at its peak. But okay, that's different.
Bring it back.
Bring it back. But the main thing is 7 seasons, 8 hours each season. In the movies, you had maybe 2 to 3 hours. We've got now 8 hours for each book, and that is, looking at some of the big stuff that was missed. Of course, especially in the Deathly Hallows as well. You got that, the whole Hermione storyline. I think near the later books got cut. It would be really interesting seeing how that played, but also at the same time, if it's 8, let's say if it is 8 hours. If you get more filler, that'll be the more original stuff. So it'd be interesting to see how they mix that. Unless it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi, that was like 6 episodes, wasn't it? But yeah, that I think is an exciting thing. And the fact that they're planning 7 seasons for, of course, it might not make it there, but I think it probably would, because it is, it's bloody Harry Potter. But yeah, I think that's the pull for me. So let us know what you think of unless Varking, you have any final comments?
Yeah, just real quick, I think that it's similar to my love of Lord of the Rings, where you asked me 10 years ago, would I love to see a series of the Lord of the Rings films? Instead of getting the 9 hours, we can get, 20, 30, 40 hours out of it, depending on how many seasons, and we can get everything that we missed and add all these extra details from the books that we didn't get in the movies. And I would love that. But it's just going to come down to how quality of a show it is. If they do good, then great. If it's not quite up to snuff, then people are going to be upset that there's all this extra filler, or that you'll have people who will claim that the show is doing harm to the movie brand of it. But at the end of the day, just like we saw with Lord of the Rings and the Rings of Power, it's going to help out book sales. And I think people getting to the original books and reading through them and being able to create how everything looks in their mind and how the story flows and all that, I think that's the most important thing. And new movies, new shows will always drive people to the original source material. And I think that's good regardless.
Let us know what you think around that in the comments below.
All right. And for the next bit of news, for those that don't know or haven't heard of Foundation on Apple TV Plus, we found out recently that on April 3rd, it started filming in the Czech Republic, and it's going to eventually move over to Ireland as well. It stars Lee Pace as one of the Cleons of the Cleon dynasty. It's actually one of my favorite shows on Apple TV Plus, and it's a beautiful show to look at. We only had season 1 so far, and I know obviously season 2 is done, so it's great to hear that they're already working on 3, because I think it's the type of show that's going to need 5, 6, 7 seasons to kind of tell the story that they're trying to tell. And just huge shout out to Apple TV Plus for throwing a lot of money at shows like this and taking a chance, because I feel like Apple is like old school HBO, where they're not having like a new show come out every day, but almost everything that they're putting out is very, very high quality. It's quickly becoming like one of my favorite streaming services. But for those that haven't followed Lee Pace into Foundation, I think it's a heck of a show. And season one picked up as it went on. I'm not sure if you feel the same way, Harry.
Yeah,
But
and
I
definitely,
thought it got much better as it went.
I actually want to say one thing. I think it also includes Jared Harris, who I think is
Yes.
one of the most underrated actors of our generation as well. I think he's an excellent actor as well. So yeah, we know he's sorry, wouldn't quick spoilers here. So if you want to go on to the next one, we know of course he survives at the end, and he's we're gonna see him again in season two, and then
Mhm.
it's going to be very very interesting how that works out. But yeah, I'll take it back to you.
But yeah, again, just if you're a friend of the channel, maybe you can apply to be an extra in the Czech Republic or maybe Ireland. I think we've had some tweets where some
Yeah.
of our buddies have mentioned that they would like to apply to become an extra, and I think it'd be cool for more people that we know to be able to get on some of these cool
Indeed.
shows.
Yep.
You never know what happens from there.
Indeed, indeed,
But if
indeed.
you haven't watched Foundation, you absolutely should.
And that's what season two we might be seeing there, seeing something mainly about around the second crisis. I think, I think that
Mm-hmm.
everything is what they're going to cover in the second season. I think following Gola and Salvo as well. I think those two. And I think because the most interesting thing for season one for me was everything about the DNA. Because I haven't read the books, but I have read around, like read watch videos and stuff like that. Because it actually piqued my interest a lot, and yeah, seeing going into that and seeing how that all works and how the change in the DNA may have affected by the day. Because I remember that from season one. That
Yes,
was one of the shocking moments for me when we saw that, and then we had to go back to the first Cleon and
yeah,
seeing all that. How like more into that, I think, because I'm very excited.
yeah. I like everything that you're doing more on storyline itself with the multiple Cleons, the dynasty, how long it's been around, and everything that they've done around that, which I believe is an original story to the show. That's not how it is going down in the books. So if you're expecting sort of a one for one adaptation, this isn't it. But I promise you, if you give the show a chance, you'll probably really like the Cleon storyline, just like we're talking about here.
So yeah, if there are any Foundation fans, let us know.
Or Lee Pace abs fans, if you just
Yep.
like his abs on Instagram, you talk about that too. Let us know in the comments.
Lots of Thranduil Stan accounts. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So we have our next story, which is done big waves last week, and which was around the Rings of Power completion percentage, but also the Hollywood Reporter article as well, which delved deeply into Prime Video and how they're doing at the minute. But we got told, apparently, according to the sources of the Hollywood Reporter, well, they were told 37% completion rate for season one in the US and up to 45% for overseas. And then apparently for Amazon standard or in industry standard, 50% has seemed great, but not amazing. So it apparently Rings of Power had, was it like 100 million views for the premiere or whatever, and then whatever, but we don't know by episode 8. So I don't think it's as simple as 137% of 100 to 37 million. I don't think it's like that. It's
No.
interesting though. First of all, what's the reaction, Bino? What's your reaction, my man?
Um, I always try to take every bit of news that we get, even like leaks that we've gotten and scoops and stories. I've always tried to be that person who's like very level headed and grounded. And when I hear it, I try to make sense of it. So 37% as a statistic sucks. That's not good. But what is Amazon's norm on a show? Like when they released the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel season one, what is the percentage of people who watch it from beginning to end when they release any show they have, the new Daisy and the Six or the Boys season one? Like what is like I've never heard from any of these shows what like the watch through rate is to know on Amazon's own platform how these other shows do. um but I mean a lot of it is like in the entertainment culture, a lot of the fun is watching something the same time as everybody else. And so, people are like, Game of Thrones is going to drop at this time. So then everybody watches it and then everybody's commenting online right afterwards. And it's like a big kind of like event. The way Amazon did the release schedule, I think did them no favors. Having like on the East Coast, every episode's releasing at midnight. Typically, people aren't going to even bother to watch that the next day. And
5 a.m. for
overseas.
me.
Yeah, it's 5 a.m. for you guys. Like that's not the friendliest time to watch stuff, or to get people excited about watching. I think that was a missed opportunity there. 37 hertz. It's not great, but at the same time, like I said, we don't have context for what their normal watch through rate is. And then, people are like, if they don't pick up that percentage come season two, maybe they cancel it, or maybe they have to do a wild change of direction on the show. The season two percentage is likely going to go up significantly higher than 37% because the people who didn't finish watching season one probably aren't going to tune into season two. So then you'll get your above 55%. Now, like notable ones that did get brought up, I think for the most part, a lot of the successful shows that we like and love that have come out the past couple of years had higher retention rates than that, from what sources have said. But like the one that stands out to me is Stranger Things season one. Their watch through rate was like 35 or 39%. It was very similar to Rings of Power, and then grew over time.
Mhm.
Um,
I think, honestly, of course, he said 37%, not really a great number. 45%
mm,
overseas, whatever. And then I think, yeah, I think for the creators of the show, JD Payne, Patrick McCabe, actors, writers, they'll be probably be sad about that. But then people are talking about how is this going to affect Amazon? Well, the people actually making the decisions of whether shows get, approved, cancels, Jennifer Sulkers, everything of the world. Or are they going to think about this? Realistically, they're not going to really give a crap because what they've seen, and I know this because from what I hear from sources close and inside Amazon, or I'm not saying in Amazon, I'm saying what people are hearing, around the trades and stuff. At the end of the day, 100 million people watch the first two episodes premieres. That's 100 million people having a Prime Video account or signing up a Prime Video. That's 1 month subscription. Boom. That's what their target is ultimately. Because even though it is to make content, it's to get more Prime Video people to buy a Prime Video, and that's why. And I'm not saying this is a good thing. That I think it is probably not a good thing, but as in it will this affect, are we going to get season 5, are we going to get all 5 seasons? Realistically, yes, because they don't really care about this, I think. And what I think I know, because from Amazon, and nearly everyone at Amazon, from what I understand, got promoted from with Rings of Power on the executive and commercial level. I'm not saying script writers and stuff, or the show. When I'm saying everyone who's worked around it, and yeah, that's how they look at it. Of course, if you're Warner Brothers, you might look at that and executive and be a bit worried because, of course, you got more of that content area. But with Amazon, numbers matters, and despite having people drop off, they've dropped off while having a Prime Video membership. And at the end of the day, they got their big flashy headline. I think it was the 100 million for the premiere, and then that's what they've done. So,
and all the records. They had Rings of Power, for better or for worse, broke almost all of their streaming platform records for a season one show that they had. Like, how many people were tuning into Prime Video before Rings of Power? How many tuned in? I think the follow-up show was The Peripheral. What was the drop-off, or what was the bump up? I think, of the things that they would look to cut, I don't think Rings of Power would be anywhere near that list. And going forward, it's only going to get cheaper and cheaper for them to produce each season now that they have a set location that they're going to be doing all this at, even if it is on fire.
Yeah, but now if I was JD Payne and Patrick McKay or script writers, what I'd see from this, away from the executive level, because you already know the answer there. Hopefully, it's potentially a wake up call if the numbers are correct. That the season was, I think we were all saying, was pretty slow. 2 episodes in, I think we spent 40 minutes in so many introductions. 40 minutes into Linden, and then Galadriel goes out and jumps into the sea. And pretty much as episode 1, episode 2, more introductions. And this, I know it's 2 episodes, I know it's 50 hours worth of television, but even as a standalone season, as quality, when you just look at season 1, it is very, very slow. And I think one of the best episodes, episode 3, with the new Minori stuff, that went really fast for the first few minutes. I was thinking, finally, the show is finally get stride. Then we get the final 20 minutes of half it, and I'm like, oh shit. So it's like, yeah, then we got, Stranger doing the strange stuff, jumping, ruining the parties, never get left behind, never walk alone, all that stuff. So it's like, hopefully, I think faster pace, quicken the storytelling a bit, I think that's the point. If people are dropping off from there, I think interesting. Most people say they dropped off after episode 5, and that's when the action began in the Southlands as well. So I think yeah,
Yeah.
I think we've given a fair,
I,
take on all the different aspects of who's going to be reacting to this differently.
I think that and they had finished writing season 2 before season 1 had aired, so it's going to be difficult to get all of that feedback in. But I think we are in store for season 2, a quicker, faster paced story anyway. My big critique for season 1 is that almost universally you hear a lot of people talk about, like, what was the best part of the show? Like, what was the it's the dwarves. Count how much time the dwarves are on the screen. We have 8+ hours of season 1 content, and I think we ended up with like an hour and 10 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes. That's not enough time for the race that is carrying the Rings of Power banner on their backs right now.
Like
Shout out to
Caledonia, Rip.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
That
that'll be
was fun.
fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Oh, but faster pace season 2 is what we're saying. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, there we go. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. I'll let us know what you think of these numbers, and we think you'll react. But is that all for you, Varking? Or one more thing?
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you think about a faster pace season 2 or a Celebrim banner.
Yeah, Celebrana.
If you're ready to hate Celebrimbor, comment below. I'll be there.
I'll be there no matter what. We also have some big breaking news over the last days, in fact, which is around we had the Star Wars celebration thing that's happened, and we got 3 new movies announced, and they are quite interesting. And we're gonna give our thoughts, but first we have first one is by Charmin Obey Chinoy. Hope I've got that name right, which is gonna be film set after the rise of Skywalker, and it's gonna have none other than Daisy Ridley back. Very interesting. Daisy Ridley, who of course played Rey. Is it Rey Skywalker? Was she a Skywalker name? Or was she?
Yeah, she's a Skywalker, bro.
She's a Skywalker.
Absolutely.
I thought she was a Palpatine. Okay,
Nah,
I
walking
forgot.
the skies, saber and everything.
Well, I don't know how she's a Skywalker, but she's a Skywalker apparently. James Mangold is going to film at the set at the dawn of the Jedi, so the first Jedi. I think that he's been saying something like this is going to be like a Bible epic. I'm actually looking quite forward to that, but we'll get back to that. Then we've got good old Dave Filoni, film set in the New Republic, closing out The Mandalorian and the Ashoka. So actually, we have, I know we do things pound, but I actually know potentially some Star Wars scoops or info around this. And it's that from what I understand right now, these 3 films are so early in development, it's not even if decided if all 3 are going to go to cinema. There could be a chance, potentially even the 3rd film listed here, that it might just be a streaming film. And that just kind of makes sense if the Mandalorian and the Shoka movie or wrap-up movie will be streaming. But yeah, there might be a chance, yeah. And no budgets are set for these movies, and maybe not all of them even go to cinema. One might be a Disney Plus event type thing. So yeah, but away from that, first of all, let's go to the first one. We've got, of course, sequel trilogy Varking, remember that? And we've got her back, Rey Skywalker, it is actually, that I'm quite confused about.
Yeah, well, I mean, you might not have enjoyed the final 3 movies as much as some other people did, and maybe that's where the confusion comes around her being a Skywalker or not. I think I don't know if it was announced or if it was just rumor, but I think they were saying her role in it would be that she's now more like a Jedi Master, and she's there to teach the younglings how to behave, act, and grow into becoming Jedis. I think it's cool that Disney has brought her back. I know that while there was a lot of fan backlash for those movies, I know there's a lot of people who really like them as well. And I think it's cool to get more Star Wars. I think that, no offense to Star Wars fans, but I think like the Star Wars IP isn't held into the same standard as like Tolkien. I think that there's been a little dip, so I think you're open to more things, and I think seeing stuff like this is really cool. And congratulations to her for being able to come back for another, at least one more movie, and be in the same role she was in before. And I look forward to seeing what she does as Rey Skywalker.
Yep, it's Rey Skywalker, and it is set 15 years after Episode 9, so we have that for context as well. So yeah, I know people talking about those rumors. Oh yeah, that these last three episodes are gonna get retconned, this, and that. Whatever. And then people are going to, say, oh, Star Wars is dead again. But I remember like how many times is Star Wars meant to be dead now? I think it's like the 15th time Star
Yeah.
Wars meant to be dead, and it always ends up, then we get announcements like this. Then of course these potentially never get to film. But it's like that's all Star Wars is. You got these people, oh, Star Wars is ruined. Star Wars this and that. It's dead. It's officially over. Then, Star Wars
Then the
announces, like,
Mandalorian comes out.
yeah, Mandalorian comes out, and then Star Wars announces five new things. Then three or four of them don't go through, even get past the writing stage.
Then we get the Andor.
Star Wars, Disney cancel all this stuff. Star Wars, Disney's ruined. Three new stuff is like it just seems like it's an endless circle of Star Wars.
Yeah.
But,
They'll take their chances to find something that becomes a hit.
mm-hmm. And we know actually we've got, and they will be talking about one of the Star Wars hits in a bit as well for our next story. But then moving on, we do have James Mangold film set at the Dawn of the Jedi. This is one I'm quite intrigued in because, of course, this is going to be set quite early on. Before anything, it's going to be almost alien on a visual level, or at least a theatrical level for us, because we've not really seen that period. And it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Of course, my dream Jedi would be Keanu Reeves, because I think he'd be
Same guy.
Yeah, the same guy is basically.
And that is the yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he was great. So yeah, I'd have him as a Jedi. So yeah, we'll interested to see that. And then of course we know the Dave Filoni film, so the New Republic. I think that's the right way to end the Mandalorian with a film.
Man, that's I wanted to make sure that when you first said that, I heard that right. That this was like going to be the end of the Mandalorian.
It seems like it, yeah.
Oh man, I don't know because like I don't know. Like I'm having fun for the most part with the Mandalorian. There's still some crazy episodes here or there. You think you've seen everything, and then Jack Black and Lizzo pop up, and they're playing with Grogu, and you're like, what? Where did this come from? But the episodes are still pretty good, and they're fun overall. I'm not quite sure if I'm ready for that to be ending anytime soon. I think Pedro Pascal's done a great job on the show, and as he's done with basically everything nowadays.
All we know is that at least one movie has to be in cinemas by 2025. That's what apparently Kathleen Kennedy has as one of her goals, and that might probably means that it's not going to be this movie. So luckily, it could be still a long way down the line. But yeah, I think I'm season one of Mandalorian was great. Season two, season two was also good, but I'm not a massive Star Wars fan. And of course, yeah, seeing Luke Skywalker was great, seeing all these new characters, but I felt like I'm missing, just spending time with Jin and Grogu. But then season three, it started, I feel like, okay, we're back with them two again. And then we're doing random side quests with Jack Black and Lizzo. And it's like, okay, this we're going here instead. And it feels like, yeah, we're 6 episodes in and we have no villain. We have.
Have you watched Arrow on the CW?
No, I have not watched any CW shows, unfortunately. But I think I know the concept of how they work, though.
Yeah, so Arrow is a story about Green Arrow. He's a hero that's similar to Batman, but he's a bow and arrow kind of guy. But same thing, like rich family, dead parents, that whole background. But the show was amazing for like the first season or two. And then what happened is the CW wanted to create what they called the Arrowverse. So instead of just telling a good Green Arrow story for season 2 or season 3, they told half of his story, and then it became a launching pad for them to come out with like the Flash. So you took away from what you were doing on Arrow to kind of like boost this other show that was about to come out. The next season, they wanted to come out with something called like Legends of Tomorrow, which had like 3 or 4 other big characters from the show leave Arrow and go do their own show. Then the next season, they have a crossover that had 1 episode of Arrow, 1 episode of Legends, and 1 episode of The Flash, and they brought in Supergirl. And it almost feels like Arrow wasn't Arrow anymore. Arrow just became the show that you were going to bring a hero on, show them off, and then give them their own show. And with The Mandalorian, that kind of led to us getting Book of Boba Fett. And
Ashoka, and that trailer came out as well.
And it feels like I'm at the point where I think The Mandalorian's going to end soon anyway, and it's going to be the launching pad for like Grogu to have his own series. And I don't know why I'm blanking on her name right now. Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan, yeah.
She just recently spoke about how cool it would be for her to get her own show.
She has the
And
dark saber now.
yeah, so I could definitely see them using the Mandalorian as like their version of Arrow, where every
Mhm.
season until it's done, it's just really to prep the audience to go watch another show. And
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen this before, and it's a little bit upsetting.
So yeah. So we'll have to see how it ends up with those three Star Wars films. And I think even then, we might not even see all of them. So we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see.
All right, folks. And for the last update for this week's episode or show that we're currently testing out with you guys, we got some Andor updates. And we know that Andor is going to be coming out at some point next year. And Harry, do you have more in depth news on that? Or do you have the actual
Yep.
dates?
Actually, we actually do have August as the month, which is it'd be interesting to see how that lines up with House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, et al. But interestingly, we know it's going to be they're doing the same 3 episode blocks again, and I believe it's going to start 1 year after season 1, and there's going to be big giant time jumps between each of the 3 episode things. And it's interesting that the actor for season 1 said for Andor, his favorite moments was the parts when he was with who we know very well, Andy Serkis, who of course played Gollum. He was with him in prison. He found that part of season 1 quite interesting and his favorite. So, yep, Andor, brilliant show. I think
You're talking
the
about
show.
Diego Luna?
Yeah, Diego Luna, yep, excellent actors. I think that was the number 1 show for me in the last year. Of course, it didn't do actually that great numbers wise, I don't think. Man, yeah.
Unfortunately, but you can still recognize it as a really, really good show. I enjoyed it. I think a couple people had told me before I started watching, you just got to give it a couple episodes and it starts to pick up. And for me, I liked it from episode 1 on. It's definitely up there for me. I enjoyed The Last of Us immensely. And right now, for folks who watch HBO Succession, that's the show that's out right now,
Ooh,
and
I'm on
it's the
season 1,
final
episode
season.
7.
This is the finale, and I watch it the moment it comes out with the girlfriend. It's her favorite show, and it took me 3 seasons before I watched season 1 and 2, and then finally got caught up with her. But as I watch it, I'm like, this to me is the best show on TV, and I don't. There's a big budget for it. Doesn't cost a lot to make, but this is the final season, so that's going
Yeah.
bye byes.
We should talk about Succession next week or the next episode as well. And talking about that, to wrap this up, I had the chance to watch Dungeons and Dragons a few days ago in cinemas. And I think, first of all, I'll give a really small, really brief. We can maybe do this every time, a little review at the end of something we've watched of the movie. And first of all, spoiler free, by the way. Don't worry, spoiler free, spoiler free.
Spoiler free.
Chris Pine, terrific. I think he was, amazing in it. First 20 minutes, half an hour was very good of the movie. It was quick pace, fast, funny. Then, even then, it did for a bit. For I think Jean Pioge, I forgot his name. He's in it as well. In the middle, in the part, it started to drag on a little bit, but then it had a good ending as well. So, and that sounds like a really basic review, but I think the acting was good, but had the typical fantasy tropes. Of course, I think it's a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, but also is still being that seriously. Kind of like a Thor movie. It is serious, but also almost like it's not a parody of itself, but it is making fun kind of a way. So, and I think, yep, Hugh Grant, of course, is amazing in it. Of course, he's known for his overacting. It's not overacting, but like the overly the top acting. For example, in Paddington as well. So yep, he's great in the villain. So
Yeah, he's like Hen.
exactly.
But you would recommend for people to like go to the theater and watch it, or would you say wait until it comes out on streaming at some point?
I think it is something you should go to the theater to watch. But I think the only thing about watching on a big screen, some of the visuals, some of the CGI looked a bit. I think you could tell when sometimes this classic film school, because I remember told us I didn't go to film school, but someone who did go to film school told me, when it's a wide shot, it's up in House of the Dragon, wide shots, you like mostly like blur most of the background, but it's a big
Mm,
VFX shot. Obviously, like Rings of Power did not do this, and that's where the money went.
yeah.
You can literally see Numenor, like you see what the guy on the other side of the city is doing from like a wide angle, but here, like half the background is blurred, and then it seems a bit off. So that's the only problem, except from that, yeah, watch it in cinemas, and I think that is where we're gonna leave it for today. Unless you have anything to add.
Yeah, just that I think either tomorrow or Sunday, depending on like when people are listening to this, I might ask my dad to go check it out in theater with me, and I believe Strider wants to watch it as well. So maybe what we'll do is next week we'll try to get the three of us together and give a not just a spoiler free review, but an actual spoiler review of
Definitely.
what we think about Dungeons and Dragons, and then
The
maybe we'll
Last
continue to make that a thing.
Kingdom.
That is the thing I am most excited for of
So
everything
sad
coming
as
out this
well.
year. Right,
Lost
bittersweet,
coming to
bittersweet.
back is yeah, it deserves it. Big Lost Kingdom fan. So yeah, let us know if you are as well. But it's been a pleasure doing this. Hope we've gone through all the latest news in this fantasy and sci-fi world. Let us know what you think as always. But Varking, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, thank you for having me on, my Uhtred. That's who you are to me.
Ah,
And anytime you need me on the front lines of the shield wall, I'm gonna be there.
Shield Wall. All right
Shield
then.
wall.
Uhtred. Sana Uhtred. Okay. Okay. With that bad impersonation, we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Later, y'all.